Jim Hedrick is our next speaker for about 10 minutes. He is a professional lobbyist in Olympia, and he's going to give us some legislative updates from Olympia that pertain to all of our work. He works also as a professional lobbyist for ProLiance, and we hope very much that ProLiance, talking or staying with this theme, will join this collective effort to kind of having a better orthopedic advocacy. Jim, take it from here. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman, and members. I appreciate you having me here tonight, and I have put together a little bit of a presentation for you to give you a thought about where we are in the process down in Olympia, some legislation that's relevant to practice or relevant to healthcare, and then to talk about what really makes Olympia go, which is the state economy. Real quickly on the process, we are about 10 and a half weeks through our 15-week stanza. It's been a very different year in that this is the first time we've had a virtual session. There's very few legislators actually in Olympia, which has its advantages and disadvantages. They're not all talking to each other, and it's very difficult to be lobbying, to be asking for policies when you can't, when you're at the whim of text messages and phone calls. But so communication has been stilted this year. But I do want to note that there's been a big change in public participation this year because we've all been testifying remotely or all participating remotely through Zoom calls and what have you. So you've seen a real surge in participation this year, real public participation, not hired guns like me, but actual citizens getting involved in the legislature this year, which has been good to see. This is a big week in that we are expecting budgets to be released starting tomorrow. I told Lynn and I told could we push this off a week, because we'll know a lot more next week with the budgets released. But you're going to see budgets coming out of the House and Senate pretty much starting tomorrow, and Friday and Saturday will be hearings down in Olympia on the budgets. The remote session has kept them very focused on COVID, which we'll talk about in a minute. Racial equity, a lot of police reforms are going through, and narcotics possession, that recent Supreme Court decision. So wanted to update you on all of that. Some bills that are related to healthcare that are working their way through that I wanted to bring to your attention. An audio-only telemedicine bill. This requires payment parity for patients who receive coverage over the phone. This has been big during COVID. This is coming out of the COVID movement, if you will, and it's due to the current emergency orders that we're under with the governor. Public protection equipment or personal protective equipment reimbursement, Senate Bill 5169. Requires parity on reimbursement there. That's a bill that's moving through that a lot of the people in the House of Healthcare support. There's a health equity CME that is moving. That's part of the racial equity lens that's being purported in Olympia. So that bill will go through, and your licensing entity will have to have a CME on how to better interact with patients of color and what have you, but you will have to take a CME, at least one every 4 years. And then the COVID liability protections, that's a big bill, 5271, that's moving through, and that's a standard of care for COVID patients. Some bills that we are deeply and vehemently opposed to. I'm always shocked when people ask me, you actually talk against bills? And I said, yeah, better than half the time. We're fighting against bills. It's not all about advocacy. It's about quashing some ideas that are hurtful to your industry that you represent. The KETAM bill, we call it, House Bill 1076, that is moving. We are in dire straits on that bill. It's already out of the House and advancing through the Senate. It allows a private right of action against clinics or what have you, any healthcare worker that would be a whistleblower on a workplace violation, and they could get an award through a legal suit. So that the KETAM bill is advancing, and we are having problems stopping that going through the legislature right now. Two bills that we have stopped real quick: prejudgment interest, which would have applied prejudgment interest all the way back to the very beginning when a suit was filed on a medical malpractice judgment. We have successfully opposed that. That is no longer advancing. And then this breast implant notification bill, I just put that in there. That's not advancing. And I've got the radiologists who were opposed to that, as well as the medical association. We're seeing more and more of a trend of the legislature inserting themselves into the physician, for the provider patient relationship on SIMS things. We had one involving mammography a few years back that I had to negotiate, and it did end up passing, but it was a lay letter notification on breast density tissue. And so we're just seeing more and more bills. That's why I brought it up to you tonight. We're just seeing more and more bills of the legislature inserting themselves where we feel in the House of Medicine they probably shouldn't be. Governor's proclamations, I could spend hours on this, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention. The governor has issued 27 proclamations on healthcare alone. I put the website on there for you. If you go to his website, www.governor.wa.gov, you can look at proclamations, but a lot of different proclamations. They were all extended by the legislature on January 15th of this year, and they will be in effect through the entire time that we are under the emergency order. And I don't see an end to that until probably June or late May at the earliest of this year with the governor's current order. So a lot of things I've listed there. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But if you have questions about that, I'll give you my number at the end, and you can or go to the WSMA website, and they've got a lot of information out there on that. The federal COVID response, I think you're aware of the CARES Act and the relief that has come in, but the one I want to talk about is the one that was just signed by President Biden and just passed by Congress this month, and all of the relief that is coming to the state of Washington. $4.2 billion distributed just to the state of Washington alone. We'll talk about why that's significant in a moment. But Washington counties, metro cities, other cities, every municipality in the state is going to get some direct relief. And then, of course, there's the $1,400 checks that have already showed up to individuals. Why is this important? Well, if we go to our next slide, yes, you'll see that the state economy, and this is what drives Olympia, and this is what's going to drive the budgets that we're going to see next week, and probably some robust healthcare budgets. You can see collections are up $1.3 billion for the current 2-year budget cycle that we're in. And then there's up another $1.9 billion for the next one that they're budgeting for. That'll start in July of this year that they're budgeting for there, that two-year cycle. So the legislature is up nearly $9 billion in money between the reserve that they have, increased collections, and the federal money coming in. Retail activity has been much more robust than we expected. The big box stores, Home Depot and Target, they're doing well, but also Amazon. Amazon is doing record businesses. Any third-party platform, OfferUp, all of them are doing record business, and that has contributed a lot to our economy, both on the retail sales tax side and on the B&O side. Personal income, I just put this in here because personal income in Washington State is actually outpacing the national average. It's actually outpacing revenue collections, or the rate of revenue that the state brings in. Personal income in Washington State is outpacing that. Why is that important? Because personal income is what people are getting paid, and it's actually outpacing what the state is making. There is probably 45 other states that don't have that, or that are not in that situation. So just looking at the economy, 16,000 jobs in February, that was higher than expected. And of course, the hot real estate market, we've got a lot of REIT taxes coming in, and cannabis and alcohol sales, imagine that, are doing better than expected. So a lot of money in Olympia. The timelines out of the federal package are very forgiving. So we will be in pretty good budget stead for a while. The big fight right now is going to be, this is all one-time money coming in from the feds. Are you going to use it on one-time expenditures or ongoing expenditures? And that's going to be the inside baseball fight that I am in every day. Little bit about elections real quick, just coming off of last year. I love this slide. The campaign spent $41 million last election cycle, and never didn't change any seats in the House or Senate. It was the same exact majority for the Democrats to have majorities both in the state House and the state Senate. But just after all that money was spent, the last election did not change the outcome of the mix of the legislature at all. So I just always love putting that in there.